backbone and strength, critical to our national security. Our entire economy and dairy farming are once again roaring back. One person deserves the credit and our vote: President Donald J. Trump.
What was happening prior to President Trump, you had businesses that were overregulated, not a friendly environment at all to start a company.
My family stopped ranching about 7 years ago. The regulations became so overbearing that the ranch was slowly sold off.
I lost businesses because of these regulations.
The factories in our town closed. The businesses in our towns have shut. It got to the point finally that middle America needed help. President Trump came in and was able to shed light on an area that had been so long left behind. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was huge, especially for a community like ours that has a lot of small businesses, manufacturing, deregulation, fair trade, real life policy changes that affected real Americans.
An amazing opportunity to get ahead, to have our businesses, to have our children educated, of school choice.
That is something that's huge for parents right now, especially Black moms whose kids are trapped in failing school districts.
Before COVID hit, Black unemployment rate was at the lowest ever.
I've seen the numbers of employees go up, and they're earning a lot more for their family than what they had previously.
What this administration has done, simplifying the government, it's really cut the handcuffs off of America again and allowed us to grow and move forward in a way that I have never seen in my lifetime.
When you pull regulation and allow small companies to go out there and be able to play in the game, that is the American dream.
People feel that they can support and have a family, and it can build and make us stronger as Americans.
What could be taken away if he doesn't win again?
Joe Biden said the first thing he's going to do is increase taxes on everyone.
Over-regulating and making it where a small business can't grow. That's taking away the American dream.
I think with the upcoming election, people just need to think about what is better for them and their family.
The president's job is to be the CEO of our country, and he's doing his job.
He has improved jobs, he's improved health, he's improved wages, he's cut taxes. I could go on for an hour and a half.
The plan was working. Everybody had a job, making money, spending money. Boom, bada bang, boom, we good.
Boom,
My
bada
kids
bang.
are gonna look up to me and say,
Boom,
you
bada
are
bang.
the best mom for working, raising us. It's just tremendous what I could do, I guess.
This is somebody who loves his country. He's truly fighting for the American people.
Hello, folks. You know me from TV and radio. I'm Larry Kudlow. Years ago, I worked for Ronald Reagan. More recently, I helped the team craft Donald Trump's economic plan during the campaign. It was a roaring success, inheriting a stagnant economy on the front end of recession.
Hold on, Larry. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of
historic
hard
rollback of
cocaine.
onerous regulations that cripple small business, unleashing energy to become the world's #1 producer.
You're supposed
and
to be in
free,
rehab.
fair, and reciprocal trade deals to bolster manufacturing, agriculture, technology, and other sectors. The economy was rebuilt in 3 years. Unemployment fell to the lowest rate of 3.5%. Blue collars, African Americans, Hispanics, women, all groups benefited enormously. Everyone was better off. A rising tide lifted all boats.
Nope.
Then came a once-in-100-year pandemic. It was awful. Health and economic impacts were tragic. Hardship and heartbreak everywhere. But presidential leadership came swiftly and effectively with an extraordinary record for health and safety and successfully fighting the virus. The great bipartisan rescue also saved the economy right now. Our economic health is coming back. With emergency spending and tax cuts, Americans are going back to work. There's a housing boom, there's an auto boom, a manufacturing boom, a consumer spending boom. Stocks are in record territory. A V-shaped recovery is pointing to better than 20% growth in the second half of this year. Now, looking ahead, More tax cuts and regulatory rollback will be in store.
Oh my God.
Payroll tax cuts for higher wages,
why are they letting this guy
income
speak?
tax cuts for the middle class, capital gains tax cuts for investment,
He sounds like a
productivity,
guy
and
whose
jobs.
wife
Much
paints
more
his
regulatory
ties
relief for small businesses. In
into
economic terms,
paintings.
folks, this is no time for a $4 trillion tax hike. Coming out of the deep pandemic, who in their right mind pick the pockets of taxpayers and drain money from their wallets and purses? Look, our economic choice is very clear. Do you want economic health, prosperity, opportunity, and optimism? Or do you want to turn back to the dark days of stagnation, recession, and pessimism?
Yeah, buddy.
I believe there can't be better economic policies than we've had in recent years. So I say, stay with them. Thank you.
I'm John Peterson, owner of a second-generation metal fabrication business called Shooty Metals. We've been stamping our products and services made in the USA since 1957. My brother and I purchased the business from my uncles almost 38 years ago. What was a 12-person shop has now grown into a company employing 165 people today. Most companies that are successful over the long run, we had to reinvent ourselves
Oh my God, this
as
guy.
the market changed.
Oh my God, he's a
6
thumb
years
guy.
ago,
He's,
we invested heavily in our business,
whole,
just as
his
the
whole
greatest
facade
recession
is his
appeared.
thumb.
Barack Obama and Joe Biden, two career politicians who knew nothing about business, couldn't get the government out of our way. And it put our business in a tailspin. Sadly, we were forced to make decisions which included cutting staff, a torturous experience when our employees are like family. The Obama-Biden era banking regulations left us no choice.
Seriously?
It tied our lenders' hands, and it
He's
deprived us
crying
of the
about
lifeblood of our
rules
business
on
capital.
rich bankers.
We scratched and we clawed for 2 years, and everything changed. Donald Trump was elected president, and he knew what it was like to build a company and create jobs. One of the first things he did was to cut red tape and put an end to draconian-type banking regulations. He also cut taxes on small businesses, allowing us to be more competitive both domestically and internationally. In fact, we increased revenue by 25% for 2 years in a row. By getting rid of the job-killing NAFTA and negotiating the U.S.-Mexico trade agreement, President Trump ensured a more competitive playing field for American companies.
Republicans nowadays.
Even with all the challenges presented by the coronavirus, President Trump is rebuilding, and our economy is roaring back again. I hear that Joe Biden is ready to raise taxes, crush us with regulations, and weaken our international trade position. I shudder. We simply cannot endure a Biden-induced recession. Some will struggle, some will not survive, and working men and women of America will get crushed yet again. This is not time to hand our government over to a washed-up career politician who will be nothing but a puppet of the radical left Democrats. As a lifelong resident of Wisconsin, I'm a fan of the Badger football team. Many may not realize that the Wisconsin Badgers and the president share 3 common qualities.
Oh my God.
They're smart, they're tough, and they're dependable. As a businessman, I can tell you that those qualities we need in our country's
What is this
leader,
guy?
and that's why we need to re-elect Donald J. Trump. Thank you, and God bless America.
Oh, that was a weird one. That was a fucking weird guy. Everybody else think so?
Good evening. I'm Sissy Graham Lynch, and I'm honored to speak to you tonight about something that is so important to all of us, our faith. As Americans, we know the first line of the First Amendment protects our freedom of religion. But what we often forget, the actual words are free exercise of religion. That means living out our faith in our daily lives, in our schools, in our jobs, and yes, even in the public square. Our founders did not envision a quiet, hidden faith. They sought to ensure that the voices of faith were always welcomed, not silenced, not bullied. During the Obama-Biden administration, these freedoms were under attack. Democrats tried to make faith organizations pay for abortion-inducing drugs. Democrats tried to force adoption agencies to violate their deeply held beliefs. Democrats pressured schools to allow boys to compete in girls' sports and use girls' locker rooms. Those are the facts. But then, we, the people, elected Donald Trump. People of faith suddenly had a fierce advocate in the White House. He appointed judges who respect the First Amendment. He supported religious beliefs in court. He ensured religious ministries would not be forced to violate their beliefs. He withdrew the policies that placed our little girls at risk. And on the world stage, President Trump became the first president to talk about the importance of religious freedom at the United Nations, giving hope to people of faith around the world. In America, we have not yet experienced physical persecution, even though the left has tried to silence us. Even during the pandemic, we saw how quickly life can change.
Oh my God.
Some Democratic leaders tried to ban church services, while marijuana shops and abortion clinics were declared essential.
Nope.
But you know what truly is essential? Our right to worship freely and live our faith in every aspect of life. The Biden-Harris vision for America leaves no room for people of faith. Whether you're a baker, a florist, or a football coach, they will force the choice between being obedient to God or to Caesar, because the radical left's God is government power. So in the words of my grandfather, Billy Graham, let us stand for political freedom,
I kind of figured that's who this fucking
and the
was.
rights of all Americans.
I kind of had an
and let's
inkling
never
this
give
was
in to those
when they showed Graham, they were inviting, you know,
Tonight,
General
I'm
Graham
proudly
Cracker.
standing in that public square.
They're inviting
and I
Billy
hope
Graham.
and pray you will join me in voting to re-elect President Trump.
And they're not making any case to anybody new.
Mayor of Eveleth, a small
I guess
town
they don't
in the
really
Iron
think they
Range of
need to.
Minnesota. My father
It's
and
just gonna be
grandfather
interesting.
earned their
This
livings
whole
mining
election
the
is
raw
kinda
materials that made the steel that built America. This election is a make or break for workers who are carrying on the legacy of men like them. Since the Iron Range economy is vulnerable to economic trends and to foreign trade, we have always needed a strong voice in Washington. We looked to Democrats to fill that void for many years because we actually thought they cared about our welfare. Not anymore. The radical environmental movement has dragged the Democratic Party so far to the left, they can no longer claim to be advocates of the working man. This is hard for me to say because I am a lifelong Democrat. But for far too long, members of both parties allowed our country to be ripped off by our trading partners, especially China, who dumped steel into our markets and slapped tariffs on our products. And what did so-called leaders like Joe Biden do? Nothing. The human cost has been devastating. We lost thousands of jobs. We lost a generation of young people who had to leave the Iron Range to find a livelihood. And worst of all, we lost hope. Then something unexpected happened. The straight-talking New Yorker burst onto the scene, promising to stand up to China and the rest of the world on behalf of the American worker. 4 years later, the Iron Range is roaring back to life, and we have one man to thank, President Donald Trump. He made good on his promises by cutting our taxes, rolling back senseless regulations, and delivering trade deals that put America's interests first. But the fight is not over. Joe Biden has allowed radicals like AOC to pass his environmental policies. Their so-called Green New Deal is a job-killing disgrace dreamt up by people who don't live in the real world.
What an
Biden is
asshole.
too weak, too scared, and too sleepy to stand up to the radical left. He has been doing nothing in Washington for 47 years.
I mean, he's getting it. They're getting it. They're really like, home sleeping.
Anybody. He delivered the best economy in our history, and he will do it again for all of us.
Really is. Isn't it the best economy?
And survival is at stake.
Isn't this
so is
the best?
America's. We know we can count on President Trump to fight for us and win. Let's make sure he wins on November 3rd. God bless America.
My name is Abby Johnson, and I spent 8 years working for Planned Parenthood. Today, I'm a public activist. When I was in college, Planned Parenthood approached me at a volunteer fair. They talked about helping women in crisis and their commitment to keep abortion safe, legal, and rare. I was convinced to volunteer and later offered a full-time job as a medical assistant before my promotion to director of the clinic. I truly believed I was helping women, but things drastically changed in 2009. In April, I was awarded Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award and invited to their annual gala where they present the Margaret Sanger Award, named for their founder. And Margaret Sanger was a racist who believed in eugenics. Her goal when founding Planned Parenthood was to eradicate
we're getting
the minority
CPAC
population.
type people,
Today,
CPAC level
almost
crazy people.
80% of Planned Parenthood abortion
The Margaret
facilities
Sanger
are
was a racist.
strategically
People are out.
located in minority neighborhoods. And every year, Planned Parenthood celebrates its racist roots.
They were
by
located
presenting
in
the Margaret
poverty-stricken
Sanger
neighborhoods because
Award.
of the fact that they were the
Later
people
in
who could
August,
least
my supervisor
afford to have
assigned me
children.
a new quota to meet, an abortion quota. I was expected to sell double the abortions performed the previous year. When I pushed back, underscoring Planned Parenthood's public-facing goal of decreasing abortions, I was reprimanded and told, abortion is how we make our money.
Oh my God.
But the tipping point came a month later when a physician asked me to assist with an ultrasound-guided abortion. Nothing prepared me for what I saw on the screen. An unborn baby fighting back, desperate to move away from the suction. And I'll never forget
What do you mean
the
by a
doctor
hawk?
said next.
H-O-C-K?
Beam me up,
A
Scotty.
hawk?
The last thing I saw was a spine twirling around
I don't know what a hawk
in the mother's
is,
womb
but
before
thank you for
succumbing to the
chatting.
force of the suction.
What's up, Adam?
On October
up?
6th, I left the clinic, looking back only to remember why I now advocate so passionately for life. I founded and currently run And Then There Were None, a nonprofit organization that's helped nearly 600 abortion workers transition
that
out of the
like,
industry. For most people who consider themselves pro-life, abortion is abstract. They can't even conceive of the barbarity. They don't know about the products of conception room and abortion clinics where infant corpses are pieced back together to ensure nothing remains in the mother's wombs. Or that we joked and called it the pieces of children room. You see, for me, abortion is real.
What you're putting down.
I know what it sounds like. I know what abortion smells like. Did you know abortion even had a smell? I've been the perpetrator to these babies, to these women. And I now support President Trump because he has done more for the unborn than any other president. During his first month in office, he banned federal funds for global health groups that promote abortion. That same year, he overturned an Obama-Biden rule that allowed government subsidy of abortion. He appointed a record number of judges, including 2 Supreme Court justices. And importantly, he announced a new rule protecting the rights of healthcare workers objecting to abortion, many of whom I work with every day. Life is a core tenet of who we are as Americans.
Goddamn.
And this election is a choice between 2 radical anti-life activists and the most pro-life president we have ever had.
She knows what it smells like.
That's something that should compel you to action.
Go door to door, make calls, talk to your neighbors and friends, and vote on November 3rd. Take action that reelects our president, and do it with our very most vulnerable Americans in mind, the ones who haven't been born yet.
Oh, God. Rough game.
It began as a class trip to join thousands for the annual March for Life. These Catholic young men traveled from Kentucky to stand
Oh
up
no,
for what
okay,
they
here's a
believed
big
in.
one.
But what happened
Here we go.
was something very different.
Everybody shut up.
Crackers with Make America Great hat on. You little dirty crackers, your day coming.
Oh, no.
Young Klansmen. Look at our Make America Great Again hat.
Social media, the news, and even celebrities launched a campaign of persecution.
I have a feeling this
that
kid's
was
gonna fart
completely
louder than
false
anybody else.
Against a boy in a Make America Great Again hat.
The MAGA hat carries a certain connotation that provokes a conditioned reaction.
I blame that kid. What a little crap.
Everyone that sees that smug look wants to punch that kid.
Nicholas Sandman received death threats, and his school was forced to close. Tonight, Nicholas tells his story.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Sandman, and I'm the teenager who was defamed by the media after an encounter with a group of protesters
Oh my God,
on the
the
steps of
mustache.
the Lincoln Memorial last year.
Oh, is that a mustache?
Before I begin, I'd like to thank President Trump for the opportunity to share some of my story and why it matters so much to this November's election. In 2019, I attended the March for Life in Washington, D.C., where I demonstrated in defense of the unborn. Later that day, I bought a Make America Great Again hat because our president, Donald Trump, has distinguished himself as one of the most pro-life presidents in the history of our country, and I wanted to express my support for him too. Looking back now,
oh my God, what a little
how could
shit.
I possibly imagine that the simple act of putting on that red hat would unleash me from the left and make myself the target of network and cable news networks nationwide. Being from Kentucky, the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln, my classmates and I visited the Lincoln Memorial. I found myself face to face with Nathan Phillips and other professional protesters looking to turn me into the latest poster
I need to figure out a way to get the
showing
fart
why Trump
buttons to
is
chat,
bad.
so chat can
While the
fart.
media portrayed me as
That's
an
what I need to
aggressor,
figure out. There must be like a soundboard
relentless
for chat.
smirk on my face. In reality, the video confirms I was standing with my hands behind my back and an awkward smile on my face.
Actually, the video confirms that I wasn't being racist.
Agitate the man
confirms that I
face.
actually was
two,
helping
I was trying
lots
to
of
follow
other
a family
races
friend's
at the
advice.
time.
Never to do anything to embarrass your family, your school,
Actually,
or your community. Before I knew what was happening, it was over. One of Mr. Phillips' fellow agitators yelled out, "We got him." It's all right here on video.
Fellow agitators.
And we won, Grandpa. What I thought was a strange encounter quickly developed into a major news story, complete with video footage. My life changed forever in that one moment. The full war machine of the mainstream media revved up into attack mode. They did so without researching the full video of the incident, without ever investigating Mr. Phillips' motives, or without ever asking me for my side of the story. And do you know why? Because advancing their anti-Christian, anti-conservative, anti-Donald Trump narrative was all that mattered. And if advancing their narrative ruined the reputation and future of a teenager from Covington, Kentucky, well, so be it. I would teach him not to wear a MAGA hat. I learned what was happening to me had a name. It was called being canceled, as in annulled, as in revoked, as in made void. Canceled is what's happening to people around.
Oh my God, it sounds like he's like taking the SATs. I'm sweating. I'm sweating.
Many are being fired.
I don't want to think about SATs.
Humiliated, or even threatened. And often, the media is a willing participant. But I would not be canceled. I fought back hard to expose the media for what they did to me, and I won a personal victory. While much more must be done, I look forward to the day that the media returns to providing balanced, responsible, and accountable news coverage. I know President Trump hopes for that too. And I know you'll agree with me when we say that no one in this country has been a victim of unfair media coverage more than President Donald Trump. In November, I believe this country must unite around a president who calls the media out and refuses to allow them to create a narrative instead of reporting the facts. I believe we must join a president who will challenge the media to return to objective journalism. And together, I believe we must all embrace our First Amendment rights and not hide in fear of the media or from the tech companies or from the outrage mob either. This is worth fighting for. This is worth voting for. And this is what Donald Trump stands for. Thank you all for listening to me tonight.
Wow, this kid, that was sad. He didn't seem like he wanted to even be doing this. I wonder if somebody like farted. Somebody maybe farted near him and he felt threatened. You idiot. I'm out of here.
I'm Pam Bondi. Our party's theme tonight is America, the land of opportunity. And listening to the stories of discoveries and deliverance, you can't help but be proud to call this country home. But for Joe Biden, it's been the land of opportunism, not opportunity. As a career prosecutor and former Attorney General of Florida, I've fought corruption, and I know what it looks like.
Wait, Florida?
It's done by people wearing pinstripe
I mean,
suits
if you're part of the government of Florida, I feel like you probably are part of the corruption.
At the Democrats' convention, we were told to look at Joe Biden as the model of integrity. But when you look at his 47-year career in politics, the people who benefited are his family members, not the American people. Let's take a closer look. We all know about Joe's son, Hunter Biden. A corrupt Ukrainian oligarch put Hunter on the board of his gas company, even though he had no experience in Ukraine or in the energy sector.
Oh, they are going to try and bring up the Ukraine again,
Yet
of course.
he was paid millions
But
to do nothing. He
But
only had
the problem
one
is,
qualification
everybody's
that
got a
mattered.
fail son.
He was the
Everybody's
son
got
of
that
the man
son.
in charge of distributing
It's like,
U.S. aid
you know,
to
riding
Ukraine.
coattails in a corrupt way.
And recently reported information revealed that a few months
When you're
after
rich,
Hunter
you've got
Biden
that
joined
son that is
corrupt
failed.
company's board, the Obama-Biden State Department began doing business with him, even when it remained under investigation for corruption. And it gets worse. That very same company was being investigated by a Ukrainian prosecutor. Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States, threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine unless that same prosecutor was fired. And then he was fired. Hunter only resigned from the board just before his campaign for president. Now let's talk about China. Fact. Joe Biden flew to China on Air Force Two with Hunter along for the ride. They said he was just there as a family member, but we know that's untrue. In Beijing, Hunter didn't just go sightseeing. He had meetings with his Chinese bank partners. Hunter even arranged for his dad to meet with one of the partners. 10 days later, those Chinese communist bankers approved millions to go to Hunter's phone. And those bankers work for the Chinese Communist Party, which oppresses their people, cheated American workers.
Chinese Communist Party? Same one?
To this day, Hunter controls a 10% stake in that firm. And Joe Biden's done more than look the other way on China. He said, the Chinese aren't our competition. Come on, man. They're not bad folks.
He said, hey, Jack.
Come on, Joe.
They aren't our competition.
Talk to the folks
said,
in Middle
hey,
America
Jack.
who lost countless jobs to China while
Hey,
your
Jack.
son was getting
shouldn't
rich
have
with
said
them. But there's more. Fact. There have been numerous press reports that have shown other close Biden family members benefited from Joe's 47-year political career. Joe Biden was point person on Iraq. The president of a construction firm met with Biden's team in the White House, and then who did they hire to build thousands of houses in Iraq? Joe Biden's close family member, who, you guessed it, had no experience in the industry and no
Halliburton?
experience in Iraq.
Are they talking about Dick
A
Cheney?
company official
Is Dick Cheney
bragged
related to
that
Joe
it helps
Biden?
to have a family member of the vice president as partner.
Chat,
The
you gotta
family
tell
member
me
put
about
it more
that.
bluntly by saying there's a line of 747s filled with cash ready to invest. Now let's follow the money down south. Again, as reported in the press, yet another close family member of Joe's set his sights on Costa Rica and Jamaica, where millions of dollars flowed from the Obama-Biden administration in taxpayer-backed loans to projects linked to, yes, that same family member.
You guessed it.
These aren't isolated incidents. It is a deliberate pattern of conduct. And that's just what he did as vice president. Imagine what he'd do as president.
That sounds crazy here.
How many American families would be allowed to get away with this? Why should there be one standard for the elite political class and another set of rules for the rest of us? When millions of Americans voted for Donald Trump, they knew he'd be different, and he is. He's a tough, no-nonsense outsider who can't be bought or intimidated. He won't even take a paycheck from the American people. He donates his paycheck to charities across this country. Democrats have been lecturing America about integrity for 4 years, while their nominee has been writing the textbook on abuse of power for 40 years.
Yeah.
If they want to make this election a choice between who's saving America and who's swindling America, bring it on. Joe says he'll
I mean, like,
build
the
back
problem is
better.
they're both doing
Yeah,
it.
build the
So bringing it
Bidens
on
back
will
better.
just make everybody lose their
Our
faith in
president
pretty.
is in this
I mean,
to build
that's
a
what should
safer,
happen, I guess.
better,
They should
and
see
stronger
both
America.
parties for what they are,
And
but
he will finish what he started to keep this a real land of opportunity for everyone. If you want to check your voting status, secure your ballot, or register to vote, text VOTE to 88022. Remember, the best is yet to come.
the fuck is that? What the fuck does that mean? The best is yet to
Women
come.
played a very, very big role. The level of genius is unbelievable, frankly.
You're what? You've got 70, 80 years on this earth. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to make that difference? Are you going to say, I was there for the big battles in our country to save America?
It's what I feel very much called to do ever since I was a very young girl.
In 2016, Donald Trump made his historic run for the office of United States President. Knowing the monumental task he would be undertaking, he rested all of his hopes for winning on one woman. Because of that trust, he became the 45th President of the United States, and Kellyanne Conway became the first woman in U.S. history to manage a winning presidential campaign.
This president has been a champion for women mostly because
Well,
he
I mean,
speaks
like
to
the women
them
that lie
as
for him.
if they can handle and tackle all issues.
They're the
I
best.
want a job because of my
they have
gender.
the right amount of partisanship.
I want the job because I'm the best person for that position. That's it. And
What
he respects
position
that.
is that?
And he appreciates hard work. You can't ask for anything better, especially in a boss.
Wait.
President Trump continues to place strong
So,
women into significant
Trump's her
positions
boss.
throughout his administration and campaign, far more
Is
than any
Don
other
Jr.
president
also
in
her
US
boss?
history.
That he has had and does have more.
Does that
women
mean that like
on his
she's
top
dating
team
her
than any
boss?
president before, but
And
it
like also her
actually goes
boss is
down to his
her could be
deputy
her
assistants,
father-in-law?
to his special assistants, to our awesome teams throughout the West Wing.
And when he called me and said, I want you to represent my entire
I don't know
campaign,"
about any of
I
this.
became the first Black woman to represent a Republican presidential campaign, winning presidential campaign in United States history.
Throughout his career, Trump has always touted family first as a core value. He shows this especially with his choices of press secretaries, choosing Sarah Sanders, the first mother to be.
Wait, are we gonna forget the other guy? We're gonna forget Spicer?
Mother to serve as press secretary.
Old farty
and
Spicer?
McEnany, who transitioned into the job while also transitioning into the job of mom.
I have 4 children. Kellyanne Conway has 4
Transitioning
children.
into the
Margaret
job
has
of
I think
mom.
between all the senior staff women, we might have 75 kids. I'm not sure. We've lost count, but the importance of the work is never lost on any of us. And truly, it is those children that we are fighting for and for their future.
With these capable women placed in positions of powerful influence and authority, President Trump has proven that when the stakes are highest, he is proud to entrust many of our nation's most crucial jobs to women.
The number of dedicated, amazing, brilliant, relentless women that are dedicated to the country and to the president and to preserving the American dream is one of the greatest, if not the greatest things I'll ever be a part of.
Somebody just said the secret fart word. Oh no!
Good evening.
What an intro.
I'm Tiffany Trump. Since
Oh
speaking
shit,
at
it's
the
Tiffany.
Republican convention 4 years ago,
Everybody
so much
shut
has
up.
changed for the world, for our country, and for my family. Like so many students across the world, I graduated from law school during the pandemic. Our generation is unified in the facing the future in uncertain times, and many of us are considering what kind of country we want to live in. As a recent graduate, I can relate to so many of you who might be looking for a job. My father built a thriving economy once, and believe me, he will do it again. This election, I urge each and every one
Game
of
is
you
getting in the way. I'm just
to
gonna ignore
transcend
it.
political boundaries. This is a fight for freedom versus oppression, for opportunity versus stagnation, a fight to keep America true to America. I urge you to make judgment based on results and not rhetoric.
Don't want it.
If you believe in criminal justice reform, there is only one
thought it was almost
president
over.
that passed the First Step Act, giving people a second chance, a chance at a life once again. And if you believe in expanding quality and affordable health care, only President Trump, my father, signed the right to try into law the Favored Nations Clause and other actions to lower drug prices and keep Americans from getting ripped off. People must recognize that our thoughts,
I'll say it.
opinions,
Tiffany's
and
the
even
best
choice
Trump.
of who we are voting for.
That's an unpopular
may
opinion.
And are being
I know.
manipulated.
A lot of
and visibly
people say it's
coerced by
Barron,
the media and tech
but
giants.
I don't think
if you
so.
tune into the media, you get
think it's
one
Tiffany.
biased opinion or another.
I think she's the best.
And what you share, if it does not fit into the narrative that they
I
seek
think
to
it's
promote,
like
then
objectively
it is
a
either
fact.
ignored or deemed a lie,
fact.
regardless of the truth. This manipulation of what information we receive impedes our freedoms. Rather than allowing Americans the right to form our own beliefs, this misinformation system keeps people mentally enslaved to the ideas they deem correct. This has fostered unnecessary fear and divisiveness amongst us. Why are so many in media and technology, and even in our own government, so invested in promoting a biased and fabricated view?
Wait,
ask yourselves, why
What
are
did
we
she say?
prevented from seeing certain information?
Chat, what did she
Why
just
is
say?
one viewpoint promoted while others are hidden? The answer is control, because division and controversy breed profit. But what are the consequences when only one side of the story gets out, or when only one viewpoint is acceptable? For our education system, it meant sacrificing civil debate by creating an atmosphere where students with contrary opinions are too afraid to speak. Many students find themselves suppressing their beliefs to fit into what the acceptable
Subscribing here.
groupthink
I
is.
play this like every stream.
In short,
but I
our
love
nation
this
suffers
alert.
by
And nobody
inhibiting our
subscribes, so I
diversity
have
of
to see it.
thought and inclusion of ideas. Working together outside of our political comfort zones will accomplish so much more. Some cynical politicians do not seem to believe in the miracle of America. Well, I do. As Maxwell Alvarez said so eloquently last night, if freedom is lost in this country, there is nowhere else to go.
Frotorius 5133 just subscribed.
And believing in miracles is a gift from God. So tonight, I want to tell you the uncensored truth of what we believe in. We believe in equality of opportunity. We believe in freedom of thought and expression. Think what you want.
We meaning
Seek
who?
out the
Who's
truth.
we?
Learn from those with different opinions, and then freely make your voice heard to the world. We believe in school choice because a child's zip code
The way
in America
she's saying it,
should
every
not
time she
determine
says
their
it,
future.
it's creeping me out.
We believe in freedom of religion for all faiths, and we believe in the American spirit, a country founded on ideas, not identity, a country where our differences are embraced, and the only country where the word dream has been attached to it. Because in America, your life is yours to chart. So if you're hearing these things and thinking to yourself, that is the kind of country that I want to live in, well, whether you realize it or not, you are a Trump supporter. I encourage you to see beyond the facade that so many other politicians employ.
I mean, this is actually the Obama style of like,
as they try to
just
pressure
imagine,
us to mask
just imagine
our own
Trump is
identities and
your
beliefs.
favorite childhood friend. Just imagine. Imagine that Trump is your favorite dish.
Big pharma and
You know,
media
he's a,
monopolies
imagine he's
to
a big
ensure
plate of
that
spaghetti and
Americans'
meatballs.
constitutional freedoms
Just
are
an
upheld,
example. I'm not saying
and that
that's my
justice and
favorite.
truth prevail. My father does not
But
run away from challenges,
just imagine.
even in the face of outright
Because
hatred.
what if he is?
Because fighting for America
What if Trump
is something he will
2 scoops of
sacrifice
ice cream?
anything
You don't
for.
know.
He
Why don't you
dreams
just
big
vote for
dreams
that
our
and find
country,
out?
And he is relentless at achieving them. You see,
Brilliant.
Make America
I'm
Great
into it.
Again is not a slogan for my father. It is what drives him to keep his promise of doing what is right for American citizens. The energy of change and opportunity is with us. God has blessed us with unstoppable spirit, his spirit, the American spirit. My dad has proven to be driven by that spirit.
I mean, that is the cue
He
sort of
has
thing.
demonstrated his faith,
That Trump is
his
just America.
uncompromising heart and actions.
He is
My father
America.
has made me believe that America can truly be great again. If you care about living your life without restraints, about rebelling against those who would suppress your voice and building your American dream, then the choice in this election is clear. A vote for my father, Donald J. Trump, is a vote to uphold our
How many
American
people at this
ideals.
convention are going to say,
Be
vote for
true to
my
yourself
father?
and stay true to the dream of
That's
America.
an interesting thing I'd love to see.
Thank you, and God bless you all.
Vote for my father.
I'm Kim Reynolds, Governor of the great state of Iowa.
I don't know who you are.
I love this state, and I'm so proud to serve its people. Iowa truly
Tiffany,
is a land of opportunity.
if anybody wants to chime in and
It's
tell
the
me
birthplace
if
of
Tiffany
the
Trump isn't the
computer.
best Trump,
It's a landmark of
come
the
at me.
financial services
Come
industry.
the fuck
and as
at
so
me.
many of you already know, it's filled with farmland that feeds and fuels the world. It's also home to people who care for one another, who work hard, who love this country, and are truly grateful for the freedoms it provides. As I like to say, Iowa is one big small town. Neighbor helping neighbor is in our DNA. From the sick farmer who can't harvest his crops, to the single mom who loses her job and is struggling to get back on her feet, the town, the community, helps them get through it. But what happens when a storm rips through almost the entire state? When it's not one farmer who lost his crop, but hundreds. When it's not one neighbor who is without food, but thousands.
Oh, fuck.
That happened just 2 weeks ago. A storm called a derecho with hurricane-force winds of up to 140 miles per hour wiped out millions of acres of crops, left thousands without power. It destroyed homes, wrecked lives, and left devastation in its wake. It was the worst storm in our state's history. And Iowans did what you expect Iowans to do. They helped each other, they took care of each other, and they still are.
Yawn.
But someone
Oh
else
my
had our
God.
back, our president.
Might as well
When
be
the
talking
winds
about
had
corn
finished
subsidies,
raging
am I
and the
right?
cleanup had only begun, he showed up. Now, you might not know that because the national media didn't report it, but the Trump administration was here in full force.
The Trump administration sure
The day
reported
after
it.
the storm, the president called to assure me that we had the full backing of the federal government. And later that week, Vice President Pence came to Iowa to again assure us that the president and his administration were behind us. With the help of the Trump administration, we quickly received a major disaster declaration that will help Iowans get back on their feet. The president, he cut through the bureaucracy to do what needed to be done and to do it quickly. But that's not the first time President Trump showed Iowans that we can rely on him. In 2019, when 100-year floods breached nearly every levee and devastated communities large and small along the Missouri River in Iowa, Nebraska, and Missouri, the president approved our request for aid in record time, in just 2 days. Well, this year, he did it in less than 24 hours. So whether it's providing needed relief to farmers who were the target of China's unfair trade practices, hammering out new free and fair trade deals, or fighting for workers and small businesses who were hit hard by COVID-19. We have a president and a vice president who get things done.
Oh, I got a headache.
And because of President Trump and his leadership, our country is able to bounce back from setbacks and see opportunity grow and thrive.
Oh, I forgot
This
it's a
is an
special night. I need to dress my dude up.
action and
Hold on,
outcomes.
everybody.
They
I'm
are
sorry.
delivering every
Sorry
day
about this.
on their promise
I wasn't
to
dressing
make
him up
America
right
great
for
again.
this situation.
And that's exactly why we
Not
need
for this
to
goddamn
re-elect
situation.
President Donald J. Trump in November.
There we go.
Thank you, and may God bless the United States
May
of America.
God have mercy on your souls.
America, the land of opportunity. A country where your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. Abraham Lincoln's words from 165 years ago still resonate today because of who we are and because of what we are. A country where a boy born into poverty in a log cabin, raised right here on the frontier of Indiana, could educate himself, become a lawyer, become a president of the United States who would preserve the Union, abolish slavery, and save the nation. As a fellow Hoosier, visiting Lincoln's boyhood home has always been a treasured experience for me and my family. It's a place that made Lincoln. We can achieve anything. Every day, President Donald Trump is fighting to protect the promise of American liberty. Every day, our president's been fighting to expand the reach of the American dream. And on every single day without fail, President Donald Trump has been fighting for you. So tonight, I'd like to introduce you to two remarkable Americans who represent that solemn pledge. Who embody our president's unbreakable devotion to ensuring that America is a land of unlimited opportunity for all. Jack is an 8-year-old from Wisconsin who was struggling academically and socially in school. Jack's mom, Sarah, who works 3 jobs to support her son, applied for Wisconsin's school choice voucher program.
We're glad that we were able to get the school choice voucher to go to that school. With Jack, he would have slipped through the cracks in public schools, and having the option to go to a school that fits him has been a real game changer for us, and I know that because of that opportunity that he's going to succeed and he's going to achieve that goal of being an apparatus engineer that he chooses to stick with.
Laura McClin is a mother of another inspiring boy, Jordan. Jordan has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a fatal muscle weakening disorder. Jordan was at my side in Indiana when, as governor, I signed a law allowing terminally ill patients to access experimental drugs not yet approved by the FDA. In 2018, President Trump signed the landmark federal right to try bill into law. Thanks to the president's leadership, critically ill patients have the right to access life-saving experimental treatments.
We started fighting for right to try, which basically says if you have a terminal illness and there's a drug that exists and you don't qualify for the clinical trial, there's no other way to receive it. This is a unique pathway that allows you to have access. You made us a promise back in Indiana that you would do whatever it took to help Jordan, and we're so grateful that you joined us on this journey and stuck it out until it became law so that other people could access treatments.
So, Jordan, if President Trump was standing right there, what would you say to him today about right to try?
Thank you for being a hero to everybody in the country.
Judge Cheryl Allen made history in 2007 when she became the first African-American woman to be elected to serve on the Pennsylvania Superior Court. It's because of leaders like Judge Allen that our nation has overcome our greatest challenges. In this time of racial division in the country, do you see faith and values and the strong stand that President Trump has taken for equality of opportunity as a pathway toward bringing the country together?
As a senior citizen, I'll leave it at that. I know what racism feels like, but I also know that but for my being in this country, I would have never been able to achieve the things that I have been able to achieve. There are injustices, but the way to deal with those injustices is for people to sit down, across the table, and talk and come up with solutions. I do believe that President Trump is committed to that. In 2016, I have to confess that I really did not know candidate Trump at the time. But I have to say that he really won me over.
Gino's a truck driver from Ohio who heard politicians for years make empty promises about defending American jobs, only to see those promises broken again and again. But in 2019, when General Motors closed its plant in Lordstown, Ohio, President Donald Trump refused to stand by and watch it happen. And as Gino observed,
also remember, pretty much all of these plants stayed closed, and none of the real jobs came back.
And plans were soon set into motion to create Lordstown Motors.
President Trump says, this is how we fix it. And I thought, well, that's a simple solution. There's no other president who could have done it. There's no one that has even tried to do it. President Trump's a doer. He appreciates every one of us, and I know he does. I've seen it. When he said, make America great again, that was his task. That wasn't his slogan. That was his task. And every hat you see that says MAGA on it, that's what your president's doing.
MAGA.
Thank you, Mr. President, for keeping the promises you made.
And then there's Pastor Aaron Johnson.
Those hats.
Today he's the executive director of
the hats are all that matters. The hat should be the fucking flag.
That provides education and medical services and food to those in need. AJ, you've got a great personal story. When you see the way this president, this administration have been leaning in to create opportunities, investments in communities around the country to create jobs, expanding educational choice, what does that mean to the families that you serve every day?
It means so much to our families. I did grow up in a single-parent home, and so we serve over 600 boys and girls right now on a daily basis, even in COVID. And so for us to give these moms to have an opportunity to take more money on their check, on their paycheck, home back to them, to have their children be able to go to a school that they may not have the opportunity to otherwise, it means so much to us. There's been so much greater opportunity.
It's definitely a pyramid head. Definitely fighting a pyramid head.
I've really been able to see such a positive change.
I couldn't really quite make him out, but he did that stupid skill where you hit the generator and turn invisible. Which is a skill I love. It's very fun to play with.
Raising their 4 daughters, Lydia and her husband own a small business that creates security systems. But just months after their business was up
Pretty
and running,
sure, at least he's using that part. I know that for sure.
That's when President Donald Trump
because it glowed yellow. I think that part lets it glow yellow.
In American history, her small business stayed in business, and her American dream kept running strong. What did the Paycheck Protection Program mean to your company as the coronavirus struck?
It was a huge, tremendous help and a big blessing. And so we applied, we were accepted really quickly. We're so grateful. We can't really we want to continue serving our clients. We want to continue growing our economy, right? We want to all continue to move forward. So we were able to make it. Because of the support of family and friends, the government.
We gonna escape. We're gonna escape.
I tell my children, they are born here in the U.S. And I tell them, you are so blessed to live in America.
We escaping.
Here in Abraham Lincoln's boyhood home, a young man would grow up to become the first Republican president of the United States. And today, another Republican president is fighting to preserve that same noble legacy of freedom. And President Donald Trump,
should we find out?
Will make certain that the torch of American opportunity illuminates every city, every town, and every community in this blessed land.
Hi, I'm Ryan Holitz. I'm a police officer from New Mexico. In 2017, I had an encounter that changed my life forever. I had just started my shift and responded to a call for service at a gas station. When I arrived, I saw a man and a woman sitting on a grassy slope. I recognized the telltale signs, a needle, a spoon. I knew immediately that they were preparing to inject themselves with heroin. Sadly, this is a common sight for me. I encounter the ravages of addiction every day. But nothing could prepare me for what I discovered as I approached them.
It was my brother.
The woman was very pregnant.
Oh.
In my shock, I asked her if she knew that she was harming her baby by doing drugs. She crumbled and burst into tears.
She had no idea that she was. Actually, the education
and a homeless drug
about whether it hurts babies, apparently that's really bad among homeless people.
As we talked, our humanity, distinct from our stations in life, was made abundantly clear.
Fucking creep.
Her name was Crystal, and in the midst of her suffering, she confided that she loved her unborn baby. She wanted the best for her child. In that moment, I saw her the way that all of you who know and love an addict see them. As fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, children, cousins, and friends. As human beings, full of value and dignity, but robbed of their potential by this disease. When Crystal said that she was looking for a family to adopt her baby, God showed me exactly what I had to do. Without hesitation,
well, we already know he's
my family would welcome her baby through adoption. Today, our beautiful daughter Hope is a thriving 2-year-old. Crystal is fast approaching 3 years of recovery.
This guy.
She's a dear friend and
He's
a constant
the
inspiration
crack baby guy.
to me and others. I hold a special place in my heart
Guy who
for those
stole
facing
somebody's
opioid
baby.
addiction.
That's so
and
weird.
That's why I'm enormously grateful to the president for his leadership in fighting this deadly enemy. Through his efforts, we're turning the tide on the crisis of addiction. President Trump declared the opioid crisis to be a public health emergency and then secured $6 billion in new federal funding to help Americans fight opioid abuse.
Yet
he
the
invested an
death
additional
rate's gone up.
$100 million
Has
to stop
only
the
gone up
opioid
in the
crisis
last 4
in
years.
rural America. And in a move that strikes at the root of the problem, he implemented a safer prescribing plan aimed at reducing opioid prescriptions by over a third within 3 years. This is an effort that stops addiction before it
Notice
ever
he's
gains
not
a hold
talking
in
about
someone's
death
life.
rate.
And it's
Or
having
actual
an impact.
rate of the scale
Drug
of the problem.
overdose deaths decreased in 2018 for the first time in 30 years. Many of the states hardest hit by the opioid crisis are seeing the largest drop in deaths. We're seeing that doctors are writing fewer prescriptions for opioid pain drugs. These are significant improvements that have a meaningful impact. I think we are fortunate, America, to have a president who cares deeply for the downtrodden and who works tirelessly to find solutions. A president who doesn't just talk about problems, but stops and helps. President Trump is the leader we've needed the last 4 years, and he is the leader we need for the next 4. You see, Donald Trump is the right president at the right time, Let's make sure he's reelected on November 3rd. I pray God's blessings on you and your family, and may God bless America.
Some real fucking weirdos.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Nunez, and I'm proud to serve as Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Florida. Tonight, I'm honored to share my story of faith,
From NBC News, the Republican National Convention. Here are Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie.
And hello, everyone. Welcome again as we get underway with NBC News live coverage of Night 2 of the 2020 Republican National Convention. Tonight's program will showcase First Lady Melania Trump in one of the most important speeches that she's given since her husband took office.
We're also going to hear tonight from the president's second son, Eric Trump, as well as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo from Jerusalem. An unprecedented appearance by America's top diplomat at a political convention.
And just before things got started tonight, we got word that one of tonight's speakers had been abruptly pulled from the program. Marianne Mendoza, the founder of AngelFamilies.com, was scheduled to appear in a video to talk about immigration. But earlier today on Twitter, Mendoza shared an anti-Semitic QAnon conspiracy theory.
No.
She later tweeted an apology, but her video was cut from tonight's lineup.
That's
All right, let's get it started. NBC's political director, moderator.
Why are they so out to get
Chuck
QAnon?
Todd is at his post. Chuck, you've been listening for about an hour and a half now of the second night of the Republican convention. What themes are emerging?
Well, I would say there's a little less red meat so far, at least not as much as last night. Last night, I think, was a lot more of that. But tonight, you're seeing another similar theme. There's another focus, particularly showcasing what President Trump's done on criminal justice reform. You know, both campaigns, guys, tell me that there is a chance that Donald Trump could overperform with African-American men. It's a concern of the Biden campaign, and it's a focus of the Trump campaign. But a lot of this targeting here is something we talked about last night, trying to cut against this narrative that the president has been stoking racial tensions. They've been trying to heal this because they see this as a way back in with suburban voters. But I will say this. I do think, just like they've had this problems when he appoints people to office, they've had a vetting issue. They've had quite a few what I would call, they're small distractions with speakers of sort of controversial things they've tweeted or said. But it does seem as if this is becoming a distraction, and there's enough of these distractions that it may break through and step on whatever messages they're hoping to get out.
All right, Chuck, let me turn to NBC Chief White House correspondent Hallie Jackson. She has reporting on what we'll be hearing from Melania Trump a short time from now. What can you tell us, Hallie?
Lester, this is a big moment and a big deal speech for the First Lady, expected to be one of her longest speeches that she'll deliver from the newly renovated Rose Garden. President Trump was actually spotted just out there behind where we are a couple of minutes ago, taking a look at the scene and the setup. You can see about 100 chairs in a socially distanced fashion on the new lawn of the Rose Garden. I spoke with the First Lady's Chief of Staff today, who tells me that this is going to be a positive and uplifting speech, that the First Lady will talk about her Be Best campaign, her signature initiative, and some tangible ways she would want to expand that over the next 4 years if her husband is reelected. She will also talk about the pride she has in her husband and his
I'm gonna do some manual farting.
Really, Melania Trump's task is to try
while
to
I'm playing
humanize
this
President
game.
Trump, to try to make him relatable to suburban women voters. That is a key constituency that the Trump campaign is going after. And there is some pressure on Melania Trump here. She doesn't often step into the spotlight in this way. You remember one of the last times she did at the 2016 Republican National Convention. There was a firestorm over remarks she made that were very similar to passages from the Michelle Obama speech. I'm told that every word tonight is from Melania Trump, that it is authentic, and it is from the heart. Lester?
Well, we've already seen the power of incumbency at work tonight. We're going to hear from Melania Trump from the White House Rose Garden. The president actually pardoned someone, part of the convention events earlier. And we'll hear from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo from Jerusalem as he conducts travel around the world. Andrew Mitchell is with us, host of Andrew Mitchell Reports on MSNBC, and of course our senior Washington correspondent. Andrea, what have you learned about what Pompeo is going to say?
Well, this is unprecedented because there is a law against federal employees doing politics on the job, and there has not been a Secretary of State to speak at a convention since World War II. because there is policy, there's tradition, and there's also a State Department regulation that was reiterated last December and sent by cable, signed by Mike Pompeo just last July 24th, a month ago, to all employees, saying that they're barred from politics on the job, and even when they are off duty, especially if they're overseas. Now, he is actually in Bahrain tonight, but he taped this in Jerusalem from the rooftop of an historic hotel, and behind him is a backdrop. You can see all of the old city, the whole
How do you know where I am?
Arab and Jewish and Israeli sites as well. And this is a really important backdrop for a very strong evangelical message, a strong message on foreign policy, defending the foreign policy of President
Oh, good job.
Of course. But it is really unusual, and this has inspired criticism from a lot of Republicans, former diplomats, current diplomats, Republican as well as Democrats, who say it's a really idea as laid out in this policy is that there is one U.S. government at a time, and that partisan politics have nothing to do with it. What I'm saying is politics stop at the
Wiggle,
border's
wiggle.
edge. The
Wiggle,
State
wiggle.
Department says that he
Wiggle,
did it on
wiggle.
his downtime
Wiggle, jiggle.
yesterday, and no government money was spent, but it's the appearance and what it projects to countries around the world.
If you're just watching and just tuning in, Andrea, we'll let our viewers know that the top right is the RNC feed. This is the video feed that's coming to us in this virtual convention. 2020 has a lot of things that are unprecedented, and add this to the list. And we are awaiting the speech by Eric Trump, the president's second son. Over the last hour and a half or so, the convention has had an array of speakers on the economy, religious freedom, abortion. Let's take a look at some of what was just said.
On the world stage, President Trump became the first president to talk about the importance of religious freedom at the United Nations, giving hope to people of faith around the world.
Jesus
I
Christ.
now support President Trump because
Oh,
he
I
has
mean that
done
literally.
more for the
Jesus
unborn
Christ.
than any other president.
Christ.
This is a fight for freedom versus oppression, for opportunity versus stagnation, a fight to keep America true to America.
There's a housing boom, there's an auto boom, manufacturing boom, consumer spending boom. Stocks are in record territory. A V-shaped recovery is pointing to better than 20% growth in the second half of this year.
And NBC News senior business correspondent Stephanie Rule joins us with more. Stephanie, we heard really talking about this V recovery. It's happening, suggesting that really every sector is moving forward. What do we know?
Go right
We
into
know
the
that before
totem.
COVID hit, the
I'm that
economy was
smooth.
strong. It was growing.
I am that
And then
goddamn
Corona happened,
smooth.
and it put us in a health and economic crisis. And the thing is, Lester, neither are over. And while we're living with Corona, nothing is booming. We're in a recovery. Thanks to the government trying to get us back on our feet, we're in a fragile and selective recovery. Just think about it. When they set interest rates so low, yes, it's cheaper for us to go out and buy a car and buy a house. We can borrow money cheap. When you think about the stock market, it's not all sectors that are doing so well. Look close.
No, you idiot.
It's
Get out of
really the
here.
tech behemoths that are carrying the markets, and they don't need to recover. They're thriving in the time of Corona. And Larry Kudlow and the president really have a difficult needle to thread here, because while some areas...
Oh, scared me. I thought he was going around the other way.
without jobs. We've got 80,000 small businesses that have closed permanently. This is a complicated time, so it's tough to say all boats are rising. A lot of boats continue to suffer, at least while we've got COVID here.
All right, Stephanie, thanks. And also joining us tonight is Rich Lowry, editor of the National Review and an NBC News political contributor. Rich, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there.
The perception before this convention was that Republicans, that President Trump, were having a hard time really figuring out what sticks in criticizing Joe Biden. Do you think that is, Republicans are finding their voice, finding their point of attack here?
That sound, as everybody knows, that means I'm in fart jail. Oh shit.
The main attack on Biden is that, as the speaker said tonight, earlier, he's weak.
That didn't work well.
To the left, he has a radical agenda that Republicans should reject. And I think so far, we'll see what awaits us the next hour or so. But the story of this night is the really canny political use of non-politicians to deliver really specific political messages. You know, there's a congressional district in Maine that's hard fought and matters a lot. Well, got someone from Maine. Minnesota potentially could be a swing state. Trump just narrowly lost it last time. We heard from someone from Minnesota, and we also heard some really excoriating critiques of Joe Biden from these ordinary Americans. So I think that's actually been pretty effective.
Yeah, Rich, if you like to watch the convention with your battleground map out, you can color in many of those key states as you watch. We should mention what viewers are seeing in the top right is actually tape of the president conducting a naturalization ceremony. So we talked about him using the power of incumbency, granting a pardon during this convention. Pretty sure that's unprecedented. Now doing naturalization ceremony. Let me go to Chuck on this, because Chuck, you know, for all of the talk that the polls favor Joe Biden right now, and we all know it's early, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
The power of incumbency. An incumbent president is hard to beat.
Yes, there's a reason it's only happened twice in the last 100 years. It's quite difficult, and you saw the different ways. I mean, Rich is right. I mean, and so were you. You saw we had 2 speakers from Wisconsin, that congressional district,
man,
and you
Eric
see the map
Trump's
here.
coming
This
up.
is the most competitive map that we have now that I put here. This narrows the country down to just 6 states. 3 in the south. There's 6 closest states that we think are the most competitive: Arizona, North Carolina, and Florida in the south, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin in the north. And pretty much if everything else stays what it was in 2016, Trump carried all 6 of these states. He doesn't need all 6 of them, but he does need quite a few of them. For instance, let's give Biden Michigan and Pennsylvania. Look what happens. Biden is suddenly sitting at 269, and suddenly Trump's got a problem. So this isn't the easiest path that he has, but one does exist for him, right? You can see him. If he does Florida, and he does North Carolina, which he's done before, and he pulls off, say, Wisconsin, okay, then he's got to hold Arizona, and then he needs one more of these, Michigan or Pennsylvania, or he's got to go get this one congressional district in Nebraska. The point is this: there's a path for the president. It's not an implausible path. It's just a narrow one.
Is there such a thing as a convention bounce anymore?
Oh, not anymore. I think we discussed this before. I mean, I will say this. If I were the president, the best he should hope for out of this convention is if his job rating can go up a few points. Because for an incumbent president, and I said this the other night, that's the number to watch the most. If that number goes north of 45 in the next couple of months, Donald Trump has a reasonable, if not good, chance at re-election. If he can't get that job rating north of 45, if he's not getting that 47, 48 job rating, he's not going to win this election.
Yeah, Chad, what do you think about that?
That's the number to be watching over the next couple of
boring.
months. I will say this. I think it's an awful big risk to be ignoring the virus as much as they've been ignoring it tonight.
Well, we shall see what this night holds. We do know that Eric Trump, the second son of Donald Trump, is going to speak any moment now. Melania Trump, it's her night tonight, and Ivanka.
Congratulations to everybody. With the rights and freedoms each of you now enjoys as citizens, there is no dream beyond your wildest reach, because Americans can do anything. Today, you have also accepted the profound duties and responsibilities that come with American citizenship. By swearing the oath of allegiance, each of you has entered a sacred and unbreakable covenant with our nation. You have pledged your dying loyalty to the American people,
the fuck is this?
the American
so
Constitution, and the American way of life. The history and heritage of the
Later on in the week, let's go to Kristen Welker, who's got more on what to expect. We're expecting Eric Trump to take the podium any minute now.
That's right, Savannah. And Eric Trump will be among those who makes the personal case for President Trump, in addition to the First Lady, who is going to be speaking a little bit later, and Tiffany Trump, who spoke earlier this evening. He is one of the top executives at the Trump Organization, and he will talk about Donald Trump, the father, the businessman, and also the president. I am told he's going to talk about the fact that his father built a movement, and in the same way that this country was built, the Democrats are now trying to tear it down. That is the message I'm told that you'll hear from him. Expect him also to take sharp aim at Vice President Joe Biden, including over his foreign policy and China in particular. Now, the president's children played a critical role in his election in 2016. Really, some of his top and and most aggressive surrogates, and we are seeing that in this election cycle as well. They've, in fact, ramped up their outreach in the midst of COVID through virtual campaign events and fundraising. They also energize the base and potentially reach out to some of those younger voters. Savannah.
All right, Kristen, thank you.
And now appearing on tape, provided again by the RNC. And keep in mind, some of these things are on tape, some are live. This happens to be tape. This is Eric Trump now, who will deliver his remarks before this committee.
Good evening, America. When I stood on this convention stage 4 years ago, no one fully understood the historic change that was about to take place. We could all feel it. Something was happening. A movement was forming just below the surface. The forgotten man and woman, voiceless in Washington, D.C., were preparing to rise up. Our movement followed the pattern of so many that came before us.
Pattern?
First, we were ignored.
The pattern?
Then we were laughed at. Then they fought us, and then, together, we won.
Follows the pattern.
From that moment forward, America came first. America started winning again. America became respected again. With every movement, there's a counter-movement. In the view of the radical Democrats, America is the source of the world's problems. As a result, they believe the only path forward is to erase history and forget the past. They want to destroy the monuments of our forefathers. They want to disrespect our flag, the stars and stripes that represent patriotism and the American dream. They want to disrespect our national anthem by taking a knee while our armed forces lay down their lives every day to protect our freedom. They do not want the Pledge of Allegiance in our schools. Many of them don't want one nation under God. The Democrats want to defund and disrespect our law enforcement. The Democrats want an America where your thoughts and opinions are censored when they do not align with your own. President Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, it must be protected. This is the fight that we are in right now, and it is a fight that only my father can win. My father ran not because he needed the job, but because he knew hard-working people across this great country were being left behind. The media mocked these patriots in the flyover states in which they lived. They ignored the Trump flags. They ignored the millions of MAGA banners and barns painted in red, white, and blue. The silent majority had no one fighting for them in either party. Their so-called leaders were bowing to China, bribing Iran, and spending more time worrying about how they'd be received by the elites in Paris than how Americans would provide for their families in Pittsburgh. Our family lost friends, but it only pushed us to fight harder. My father pledged to every American in every city, state, and town that he was going to make America great again. And so began the Great American Comeback. Almost immediately, taxes were slashed, regulations were cut, and the economy soared to new heights never seen before. Wages went through the roof. Unemployment reached the historic lows, especially for Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and women. Trade deals were ripped up and renegotiated. Lights were turned back on in abandoned factories across our country. Trillions of dollars were repatriated back to the United States, which had been sitting in foreign lands for far too long. Once again, America became the envy of the world. And with that renewed strength came leverage. The president demanded that our allies pay their fair share for the defense of the Western world. My father rebuilt the mighty American military, adding new jets, aircraft carriers. He increased wages for our incredible men and women in uniform. He expanded our military defense budget to $721 billion per year. America is no longer weak in the eye of the enemy. The moment President Trump ordered special forces to kill some of the deadliest terrorists on the planet, the day the mighty Moab was dropped on insurgent camps, is the day America took a stance to never be defeated by the enemy. Al-Baghdadi, Soleimani, dead. Over and over, issue after issue, the economy, the wall, the military, trade deals, tax cuts, Supreme Court justices, VA hospitals, prescription drugs, school choice, right to try, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, peace in the Middle East. Never-ending wars were finally ended. Promises made and promises for the first time were kept. Most politicians spend their entire careers in Washington, D.C. and get absolutely nothing accomplished. For example, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a politician who has been in government for 47 years. He's a career politician who's
Eric, you're in Park jail.
The slightest thing about the American worker or the American business. The engine which fuels the greatest economy the world has ever known. The same politician who's been a total pushover for communist China, and someone who would be a giant relief for terrorists who now have spent years running, hiding, and being taken out by the most talented military known to man. Joe Biden has pledged to raise your taxes by $4 trillion.
Holy moly.
82%
Now
of
you're
Americans
talking
will
about
see their
my
taxes go
moolah.
up significantly. Biden has pledged to stop border wall construction and give amnesty and health care to all illegal immigrants. Biden has pledged to defund the police and take away your cherished Second Amendment. My father, on the other hand, delivered the largest tax cuts in American history, knows if you do not have a border, you do not have a country, and will always support law enforcement, and you're ready to keep and bear arms. Every day, my father fights for the American people, the forgotten man and woman of this country, the ones who embody the American spirit, which is unlike anything else in the world. It built the New York City skyline. It built the Hoover
I'm gonna
Dam.
fart so hard. Oh
And
my
soon,
God.
Under my father's leadership,
Nailed it.
It will send Americans to Mars. The American spirit can be felt in the majesty of the Grand Canyon, the shadows of Mount Rushmore, and the stillness of the air at Gettysburg. It can be seen in the wide-eyed wonder of every American child as they take their first breath in the greatest country the world has ever known. It defeated fascism, it defeated communism, and in 68 days, it will defeat the empty, oppressive, and radical views of the extreme left. Ronald Reagan's quote ends with this simple warning. One day we could spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men and women were free. Under President Trump, freedom will never be a thing of the past. That's what a vote for Donald Trump represents. It's a vote for the American spirit, the American dream, and for the American flag. To the law enforcement officer who's being attacked, betrayed, and whose job they are trying to make extinct.
Damn.
My father will fight for you. To all houses of worship and to all people of faith stripped of our religious freedoms and religious liberties.
By who?
My father will fight for you.
What?
To the
Who's
voiceless,
religious freedom?
shamed, censored, and canceled. My father will fight for you. To our farmers who work dawn to dusk to keep our plates
To our
full,
Instagrammers
my
who are
father
canceled.
will fight for you. To every single mother and father, to our veterans, our coal miners, and to the American worker, my father will fight for you. And to every proud American who bleeds red, white, and blue, my father will continue to fight for you. In closing, I'd like to speak directly to my father.
This is like
I miss
one of those
working
like
alongside
speeches
you
that
every
like
single
the
day,
president
but I'm
of
damn
the
proud to be
synagogue
on the
would
front
give.
lines of this
It's like
fight.
a certain
I'm
level
proud
of
of what you're
authority,
doing
but
for
he
this
really
country.
isn't. Just he's in charge of a
I'm
synagogue.
proud to show my children what their
It's not
grandfather
really
is fighting for.
much of an authority.
I'm proud to watch you give them hell.
And they give like
Never
the
stop.
speech on High Holy
Continue
Days
to be
or something.
unapologetic.
That's what.
Keep
That's the
fighting
speech.
for what is right. You are making America strong again. You are making America safe again. You are making America proud again. And yes, together with a forgotten man and woman who are finally forgotten no more, you are making America great again. Dad, let's make Uncle Robert very proud this week.
Daddy.
Let's go get another 4 years. I love you very much. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Eric Trump,
That was
deeply personal
hilarious.
moment, but at the same time resurrecting some of the themes we heard yesterday of
I love you.
the things that they accuse Democrats of bringing about empty
Remember that?
oppression, freedom of religion under attack, some of the
When
themes,
you
again, that were a
possibly
big part of
lose.
last night.
Yeah, and a very direct attack against the opponent, Joe Biden. We heard it earlier in the night, too, so we're already hearing some back and forth from the campaigns on some of the facts there. We're back after a quick break with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and First Lady Melania Trump as our coverage of night 2 of the Republican National Convention continues in a moment.
Where's my stream?
A lot to me because I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I truly believe that my kids are going to look up to me one day. It's just tremendous what I could do, I guess.
The forgotten men and women will never be forgotten again.
You know, in Biden's America, there aren't opportunity zones. Here you have an administration that actually looks at how can government and private enterprise work together.
As we fight to deliver a better future for all women and for all Americans, we remember the wonderful victory 1 century ago.
And in the following November, the ladies appeared at the polls on Election Day by the hundreds of thousands. They had won their right to vote.
Before the China virus set in, it struck our nation. Women had gained 4.3 million jobs, a record. The women's unemployment rate had plummeted to the lowest level in more than 65 years. And last year, over 70% of the new jobs went to women. And I will say we're coming back very strongly.
We have the most opportunity.
That's the American story, isn't it? That we have hope, that even though we're in dark days now, that the days ahead hold greater possibilities because of the opportunities that we've been given in our country.
And we will make America great.
Like, who goes around bragging that they're about their kid like that? It's really fucking weird. Some real creeps. Who's this guy?
Good evening.
What
My
is
name
with
Daniel
their
Cameron.
stream? Why is it so
I'm
bad? This
4
has to be
years
a
old
fake stream.
and the first African American
There's no way it's this
general
bad.
in Kentucky
I've gotta
history.
find.
It is an honor to be with you as a proud Republican and supporter of Donald J. Trump.
Here we go. Maybe this will do it.
There are some who don't
Oh,
believe
thank
in
God,
this wisdom
thank
or in
God.
the better angels
Fox has the best
of our
one, of
shared
course.
American history as they tear down the statues of people like Ulysses S. Grant, Frederick Douglass, and even Mr. Lincoln himself.
Who? Nobody's
Lincoln
tearing down
said
those statues.
any nation
Unless you're
that does
right
not
wing,
honor its heroes
then you would
will not
probably
long
hate those
endure.
people.
And for Republicans, our heroes are those who propelled an imperfect nation ever forward, always striving to make life better for everyone. Even as anarchists mindlessly tear up American cities while attacking police and
That's
innocent
the funniest
bystanders.
part, is that
We
we're back on
Republicans
anarchists
do
like it's
recognize
1910
those
again.
who work in good faith
We're
towards
all
peace,
it's fucking V
and
for
equality.
Vendetta.
In fact,
in like the
it was General
Republicans'
Dwight
brain right
Eisenhower,
now.
a future Republican president, who said democracy is a system that recognizes the equality of humans.
And the funniest thing
before
is,
the
like,
law.
they see it as V for Vendetta,
Whether you
but
are
they
the
don't realize
family
that
of
that
Breonna
means that
Taylor
they're the
or David
fascists
Dorn,
in the
These are the ideas
in the book that was
will
being
heal
fought.
our nation's wounds. Republicans will never turn a blind eye to unjust acts, but neither will we accept an all-out assault on Western civilization. My values were shaped by my faith.
Now, what does he
and
mean by
my
Western
parents.
civilization?
I worked at their small coffee shop, meeting people from all walks of life.
Like, what do people
And I
mean when they
realized
say
something.
Western civilization?
No matter who
Where does
we
the
are,
West end?
Everyone
Where does
needs
the
a cup
East
of coffee.
begin?
That lesson stuck with me because despite our differences, we all want the same things. For our
Western
children to
civilization.
have more opportunities than we did, to feel the dignity of work, and to believe that if you play by the rules, you can make a good life for yourself and your family. So the question is, will we choose the path that gives us the best chance to meet those universal desires? Or will we go backward to a time when people were treated
Damn.
like political commodities who can't be trusted to think for
Going
themselves?
backwards.
I think often about my ancestors who struggled for freedom. And as I think of those giants and their broad shoulders, I also think about Joe Biden, who says, if you aren't voting for me, you ain't black, who argued that Republicans would put us back in chains, who says there is no diversity of thought in the black community. Mr. Vice President, look at me. I am black. We are not all the same, sir. I am not in chains. My mind is my own, and you can't tell me how to vote because of the color of my skin. Joe Biden is a backwards thinker in a world that is craving forward-looking leadership. There's no wisdom in his record or plan, just a trail of discredited ideas and offensive statements. Joe Biden would destroy jobs, raise our taxes, and throw away the lives of countless unborn children. And he is captive to the radical left, a movement committed to cancel culture and the destruction of public discourse. They believe your skin color must dictate your politics. And if you fail to conform while exercising your God-given right to speak and think freely, they will cut you down. The politics of identity, cancellation, and mob rule are not acceptable to me. Republicans trust you to think for yourself and to pursue your American dream however you see fit. Mr. Lincoln said the dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise to the occasion. I believe Donald Trump can meet Lincoln's mandate, even as Joe Biden remains trapped by his own failed record and by the radicals who dominate his party. Let's be honest, no one is excited about Joe Biden, and so I ask you to judge the record. On criminal justice reform, Joe Biden couldn't do it, but President Trump did. On the economy, Joe Biden couldn't do it, but President Trump did build an economy that worked for everyone, especially minorities, and he will do it again. And on immigration, Joe Biden promises more to illegal immigrants than he does to you. But President Trump believes his highest duty is to the American worker. The choice is clear. Let me close with something my mom told me. This country's many faces comprise a family, not separate parts to be divided against each other. And like any family, we care for one another. We grieve together. We share our burdens and our struggles, and we celebrate our successes. And though we fuss and fight, we are not enemies. We are Americans, united by a collective faith in our Constitution and laws and the fundamental fairness they represent. We are defenders of life and of individual liberty, and we carry the mantle of Eisenhower and of Reagan to be a force for good in this world, and one that must always be reckoned with. That's my Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, that believes America is an indispensable nation, an evergreen tree, standing tall in a turbulent world. And that's why I am voting for Donald Trump for president. Thank you, and God bless.
Hi, I'm Mike Pompeo. I'm speaking to you from beautiful Jerusalem, looking out over the old city. I have a big job as Susan's husband and Nick's dad. Susan and Nick are more safe, and their freedom's more secure because President Trump has put his America First vision into action. It may not have made him popular in every foreign capital, but it's worked. President Trump understands what my great fellow Kansan President Eisenhower said.
God, this guy looks
for
really
all that we cherish
up.
and justly desire for ourselves
Like
or for our
something's really
children.
wrong.
The securing of peace is the first requisite. Indeed, the primary constitutional function of the national government is ensuring that your family and mine are safe and enjoy the freedom to live, to work, to learn, and to worship. Delivering on and our bold initiatives in nearly
Holy
every corner of
shit.
the world. In
That
China,
was stinky.
he's pulled back the curtain on the predatory aggression of the Chinese Communist Party. The president has helped China bring up the China virus and allowing it to spread death and economic
He said
destruction
China.
in America and around the world. And he will not rest until justice is done. He has ensured that the Chinese Communist Party spies ridiculously unfair trade arrangement with China that punched a hole in our economy. Those jobs are coming back home. In North Korea, the president lowered the temperature and against all odds got the North Korean leadership to the table. No nuclear tests, no long-range missile tests, and Americans held captive in North Korea came home to their families, as did the precious remains of scores of heroes who fought in Korea. Today, because of President Trump, NATO is stronger, Ukraine has defensive weapon systems, and America left a harmful treaty so our nation can now build missiles to deter Russian aggression. And in the Middle East, when Iran threatened, the president approved a strike that killed the Iranian terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. This is the man most responsible for the murder and maiming of hundreds of American soldiers and thousands of Christians across the Middle East.
The soldiers that
you'll recall too,
out there
that when the president took
that
office,
shouldn't have been there to be made.
Radical Islamic terrorists had beheaded Americans, and ISIS controlled a territory the size of Great Britain.
In harm's way.
Today, because of the president's determination and leadership, the ISIS caliphate is wiped out. It's gone. Its evil leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is dead, and our brave soldiers, they're on their way home. The president exited the U.S. from the disastrous nuclear deal with Iran and squeezed the Ayatollah, Hezbollah, and Hamas.
And nothing really solved in the Kurds.
Moved the U.S. Embassy to this very city of God, Jerusalem, the rightful capital of the Jewish homeland. And just 2 weeks ago, the president brokered a historic peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates.
And then this is probably
this
the
is
worst.
a deal that our
This is
grandchildren will read about it in
that
history
ever
books.
happened to the Palestinians, because this will just
As a
normalize
soldier, I saw firsthand people desperate to flee to freedom. The way each of us can best ensure our freedoms is by electing leaders who don't just talk, but who deliver. An American hostage, imprisoned in Turkey for 2 years, Pastor Andrew Brunson, said upon his release that he survived his ordeal with these words of Scripture: "Be faithful, endure, and finish well. If we stay the course, we will." May God richly bless you, and may God bless our great nation, the United States of America.
What does that mean? May God ritually bless you. May God ritually bless you. Is that a thing? Or does he mean richly bless you? Okay. Just sounded like ritually to me. Was that the end of the stream though? We out of here? Stream over? It was even shorter tonight. Oh my god, they couldn't even field 2 hours. Oh, is Trump speaking again? Oh, this is good. Oh my god. Everybody listen up to the king.
It is my great honor to present First Lady Melania Trump.
First Lady Melania Trump. First Lady Melania Trump officially kicking off her Be Best initiative. She is courageous. She's taking on a tough topic. Focused on the well-being of children, social media use, and opioid abuse.
Let's join together in your committing to help children dream big, think big, and do all they can to be best in everything they do.
This is her showcasing what she brings to the position of First Lady.
She is smart, independent, and I think people have underestimated her big time.
The First Lady was amazing. She was gracious, empathetic, and showed true compassion.
First Lady Melania Trump stepping out onto the world stage.
Melania, no, not only can she not speak English, she can't speak Slovenian. That's what I think. I don't think she can speak Slovenian.
Her continuing to work on her Be
Who's ever seen her speaking? They say she speaks it with like a Baron. Do you think Baron can speak Sylvanian?
Country, enormous warmth,
That's
elegance, and grace.
you know, that triggered me actually.
Have made lasting impacts on society.
I'm triggered.
Represent the strength of the female spirit. As First Lady of the United States, I'm proud.
Oh yeah, that's right. Actually, he is a like a test tube Ubermensch, I believe. That sounds legit to me.
Our voices.
Very important moment for Melania Trump. This was a really prominent week for her. The iconic has been renovated for the first time in 60 years.
When the history books are written, there should be a special chapter reserved for our First Lady. She is an incredible First Lady.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, he's gonna be enormous. Like he's gonna be like the American Yao Ming. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Melania Trump.
You feel me? Mrs. Melania Trump. Trumpety Trump. You think she can actually even say her own, like, say Trump? Can she say Trump?
Good evening. It seems like just yesterday that we were at our first convention, where my husband accepted the Republican nomination and then became our
Alright,
43rd
I'll defer to you. You're
president.
definitely more of a Melania expert.
Yet the energy and enthusiasm for who should lead this nation, it is real today as it was 4 years ago. I know I speak for my husband and the entire family when I say we have not forgotten the incredible people who were willing to take a chance on the businessmen who had never worked in politics. We know it was you who elected him to be commander-in-chief, and we know it is you who will carry us through again. We were humbled by the incredible support then, and we are still grateful. I want to acknowledge the fact that since March, our lives have changed drastically. The invisible enemy, COVID-19, swept across our beautiful country and impacted all of us. My deepest sympathy goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one, and my prayers are with those who are ill or suffering. I know many people are anxious and some feel helpless. I want you to know you are not alone. My husband's administration will not stop fighting until there is an effective treatment or vaccine available to everyone. Donald will not rest until he has done all he can to take care of everyone impacted by this terrible pandemic. I want to extend my gratitude to all of the healthcare professionals, frontline workers and teachers.
Oh, really?
In these
Yes, you
difficult
piece of
times.
shit.
Despite the
Should've
risk
slugged
to
you.
yourselves and your own families, you put our country first, and my husband and I are grateful. I have been moved by the way Americans have come together in such an unfamiliar and often frightening situation. It is in times like this that we will look back and tell our grandchildren that through kindness and compassion, strength and determination, we were able to restore the promise of our future. Businesses stepped up and volunteers stepped in. People were eager to share ideas, resources, and support of all kinds, with neighbors and strangers alike. It has been inspiring to see what the people of our great nation will do for one another, especially when we are at our most fragile. Speaking of strength and determination, we recently celebrated the 100-year anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment. Yesterday, on the North Lawn of the White House, we unveiled an exhibit dedicated to women's suffrage. The exhibit called on children from across the country to send art honoring the meaning of this important time in women's history. When I was judging the entries, I reflected on the impact of women's voices in our nation's story, and how proud I would be to cast my vote again for Donald this November. We must make sure that women are heard and that the American dream continues to thrive. Growing up as a young child in Slovenia, which was under communist rule at the time, I always heard about an amazing place called America, a land that stood for freedom and opportunity. As I grew older, it became my goal to move to the United States and follow my dream of working in the fashion industry. My parents worked very hard to ensure our family could not only live and prosper in America, but also contribute to a nation that allows for people to arrive with a dream and make it reality. I want to take the moment to thank my mother and father for all they have done for our family. It is because of you that I'm standing here today. I arrived in the United States when I was 26 years old. Living and working in the land of opportunity was a dream come true, but I wanted more. I wanted to be a citizen. After 10 years of patience, I studied.
Oh, you guys are so fucking meanie. Oh, she hit hard too.
It is still one of the proudest moments in my life because with hard work and determination, I was able to achieve my own dream. As an immigrant and a very independent woman, I understand what a privilege it is to live here and to enjoy the freedoms and opportunities we have. As First Lady, I have been fortunate to see the American dream come true over and over again. I have met many inspiring women, children, parents, and
what a little bitch.
who have overcome life-changing issues that include
That was a good game.
homelessness,
See, that's the kind
family
of
members
fucking
who
game
are
I like.
ill or have passed away, abuse of all kinds, and many other challenges
Take a look
that
at
would
you,
make
Melania.
most people give up. The past 3.5 years have been unforgettable. There are no words to describe how honored, humbled, and fortunate
She doing like
I
a
am
Castro look?
to serve our nation
Chat, can
as
you
your
tell me if
First
she's
Lady.
trying to look like Castro here?
After many of the experiences I've had, I don't know if I can fully explain how many people I
Is
take home with me in my
Is
heart
Trump finally
each
going
day.
to pardon
From brave soldiers who give up so much so
what
that
was
we
his
can be
name?
free,
Elian?
to children of all
Who was
circumstances
the
who I
remember
have met
who was the
around
kid
world.
who had to
Thank
get sent
you
back to
for
Cuba with his
inspiring
father?
me.
Trump will
It is
pardon
my
him.
greatest honor to serve you.
Elian Gonzalez,
speak
yeah,
to
it's,
members of
Trump's
the
finally gonna bring
military,
him back. He's bringing him
Despite
back.
sacrificing time with their families,
That's what I predict. That's what this coat
experience the
means.
fear of war or suffering loss, they have no regrets about serving our country. The same goes for their families and the families of first responders.
Also, everybody knows her first husband was Raul
not
Castro.
Sure if or when they will come home. When I speak to families who have lost someone, the pain mixed with pride I hear in their voices is something I think about often. So thank you to all who serve our country in the military and as first responders. And thank you to the families who
Actually,
them.
it would make more
You
sense.
are
They have better
heroes
genetics than
in
we
your
do.
own right.
You're not gonna make a super soldier with all this white bread. You know what I'm talking about?
I've spent time with at hospitals, schools, and other
You know?
locations around the world. Children who are dealing with pain or illness that would break even the strongest adult. Parents who are grateful to wake up every day and see that their child is still alive. These families are a testament to what faith and medicine, strength and science can do. On my first international trip as First Lady, my husband and I visited places of great significance to the three major religions,
show. Okay.
Islam,
Well, have fun.
Christianity,
Have fun with that. Thanks for
and
stopping
Judaism.
by.
One special memory
I've got to finish
from
this
that trip
speech.
is of a young boy I had privilege of visiting while at Bambino Gesù Hospital in Rome, Italy.
I mean, is
While
that
there,
sketch show? Because
read a little
I
boy
watched
a
it. I've
story
watched it.
and learned
Like,
that
it was
he
on
and
a
his
while
family
ago. I didn't.
had
Are they
been
making new
waiting
ones?
for a heart for a very long time, and he had a grim prognosis. His
Like, I definitely
situation
watched
brought
Peep
my
Show at some
staff
point.
and me to tears, and we spoke of a little else as we flew to Belgium for the next part of our trip.
Oh, interesting.
Upon landing just a few hours later,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
learned
okay.
that a heart
watch
had
that.
been donated and would be going to the little
Thanks
one.
for letting me know. I'll have to look
I
for
think
it.
about him often, along with so many amazing and strong young patients
nice.
across our own country.
Yeah, I will definitely watch it. I think Lamia
More
would like that too.
profound and sadly unavoidable examples of our country's strength and character have occurred in the communities that have been impacted by natural disasters. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and flooding may show the ugly side of Mother Nature, but in their aftermath, they can show us a beautiful side of humanity. My husband and I have visited many places that have been affected by natural disaster, and we are deeply moved by the strength of the people who have lost everything and the kindness of neighbors and communities. The common thread in all of these challenging situations is the unwavering resolve to help one another. I recognize the stories I just told about people who survive extraordinary circumstances. But Donald and I are also inspired by the millions of Americans who wake up each day with a simple yet courageous goal of providing for their families and keeping them safe. You are the backbone of this country. You are the people who continue to make the United States of America what it is, and who have the incredible responsibility of preparing our future generations to leave everything even better than they found it. Just as you are fighting for your families, my husband, our family, and the people in this administration are here fighting for you. No matter the amount of negative or false media headlines or attacks from the other side, Donald Trump has not and will not lose focus on you. He loves this country, and he knows how to get things done. As you have learned over the past 5 years, he's not a traditional politician. He doesn't just speak words. He demands action, and he gets results. The future of our country has always been very important to him, and it is something that I have always admired. In fact, it is to help ensure a better future for our next generation that I launched Be Best, my initiative to help children achieve their fullest potential.
No.
Be Best has one
No,
simple
I think it was
goal,
to stop
teaching
cyberbullying.
youth about the importance of their well-being, both mentally and physically. This also includes understanding online safety and the dangers of opioid and drug abuse. Through Be Best, my office and I have been able to highlight people, programs, and organizations that are doing extraordinary things in our country and around the world. I continue to believe that by shining a light on these positive examples, others across the country and globe will become inspired to do their part for our next generation. Helping children is not a political goal. It is our moral imperative. When I think back to a defining moment of Be Best, my mind goes to a trip I took to Africa. On that vast and beautiful continent, I was able to visit the countries of Ghana, Malawi, Kenya, and Egypt. One of those visits, in particular, had a profound impact on me. Ghana, on the coast of West Africa, was the first stop on my trip, and I experienced firsthand its warm people and their traditions. While there, I visited the Cape Coast Castle and learned more about the beginning of a cruel and often deadly journey in the era of the slave trade. I was horrified when I listened to the guide tell me so many inhumane stories, and I gained new perspectives. It is time in our history we must never forget, so that we can ensure that it never happens again. Like all of you, I have reflected on the racial unrest in our country. It is a harsh reality that we are not proud of parts of our history. I encourage people to focus on our future while still learning from our past. We must remember that today we are all one community comprised of many races, religions, and ethnicities. Our diverse and storied history is what makes our country strong, and yet we still have so much to learn from one another. With that in mind, I like to call on the citizens of this country to take a moment, pause, and look at things from all perspectives. I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals. I also ask people to stop the violence and looting being done in the name of justice, and never make assumptions based on the color of a person's skin. Instead of tearing things down, let's reflect on our mistakes, be proud of our evolution, and look to our way forward.
This was so
Every day, let us
bad.
remember
Oh
that we are one
God.
nation under God.
Why did
and
they
we
make
need
it so
to
long?
cherish
She's
one
having
another.
so much trouble reading it.
My husband's administration has worked to try and effect change when it comes to issues around race and religion in this country. He's the first president to address a special session of the United Nations General Assembly to call upon countries across the world to end religious persecution and honor the right of every person to worship as they choose. He has made substantial investments in our historically black colleges and universities. This president also continues to fight for school choice, giving parents more options to help their children flourish. My husband knows how to make a real change.
This is
From the day that I met
like I
him,
thought the
he has
Democrat
only
one was
wanted
bad,
to
but
make
this is
country
actually
the
somehow
best
worse.
it can be.
It's so
For many years, I
boring.
watched him grow concerned
Two
and
nights now,
frustrated.
and like
And I'm so
all the
proud
crazy
to see the many things
is
he
like
has done
tired.
in such a
The
short
craziest
time.
people are like super tired,
America
just
is in
tired
his
of
heart.
everything.
So while at times we only see the worst of people and politics on the evening
Damn,
news,
chat.
Let's remember
I feel
how
bad.
we come together in the most difficult times. And while debate rages on about issues of race, let's focus
They made
on
her
the
the
strides
headline.
we have made
Or,
and work
like, what were they
together
thinking?
for a better tomorrow for everyone. Our administration has also devoted historic resources and produced life-saving results by raising awareness around opioid addiction and drug abuse, especially for children. When so often the headlines are filled with gossip, I
My
want to take
brain
this
is
moment to
melting.
encourage the media to focus even more
Is this
on
what
the
it's
nation's
like on
drug
ASMR,
crisis.
everybody?
This disease is one that affects everybody. It pays no attention
I've got
to
a
race,
Slovenian
age,
ASMR
or
brain, I
socioeconomic
think.
status. Addiction
Oy.
has touched every part of our society in some way. And now, more than ever, we have programs and medicine to combat it. We just need to talk
You know what a better
about it openly.
place than
And
Slovenia
you,
is
the media,
Latvia.
have the platforms.
Nobody
to
ever
make
talks
that
about
happen.
Latvia, but Latvia is way better.
To the media industry and as a country, I ask that we all commit to helping in our fights against drug addiction by talking about it even more. Especially as we battle the COVID pandemic, we need to remember that suicides are on the rise as people who are struggling with loneliness and addiction feel they have nowhere to turn. Parents, please talk to your children. Teachers and caregivers, pay attention to signs of addiction.
This is rough.
Lawmakers, pass legislation that allows those who ask for help to do so safely and without fear, and to provide resources for organizations that help people impacted by addiction. When the stigma is removed, people will no longer be ashamed to ask for help, and lives will be saved. And if you are struggling with addiction, there is no shame in your illness. Please seek help. You are worth it.
Your illness.
In my next 4 years as First Lady,
how
I will
much you
continue
are
to
like
build
an
upon
eel.
Be Best and work with
That's actually
individual
pretty baller.
states to pass legislation
that.
to take care of our most vulnerable. I plan to continue the work I have started with children in foster care, as well as the minority communities and tribal nations.
I thought they were ending fucking early,
I want to
but
ensure children
no.
are being
Oh,
protected
damn.
and
They're
communities
going
have the
all
resources needed
night
to
with this
combat
one. This is
drug
the barn
addiction
burner.
and child neglect or abuse. Like my husband and the administration, I will continue to encourage education that supports a child's individual needs. It is vital that children are given the building blocks to succeed. I also look forward to continue my work to restore the People's House, which is a lasting symbol of pride for our nation. I believe this iconic home needs to be cared for and preserved so it can be enjoyed by the people